Hello fellow Sudokans and welcome to Zen and the Art of the Guardian Sudoku Puzzle. It's Sunday the 16th of February 2025. I hope you are feeling well, enjoying your weekend, and I have a little something extra for you today. As the channel has broken 3 million views, it's unbelievable really on such a tiny channel, but I have been at it for a while now, so that's the main reason, I guess. But just as a thank you for coming and supporting the channel, I've written a little short story for you. I think it's about 15 minutes, something like that, so it's not too long. I didn't want to make it too long because, of course, I try not to make these videos too long. But if you could spare 15 minutes to listen, I think you might enjoy it. You might not. You might hate it. That's also possible. But anyway, whichever. Give it a bash if you have the time. And so I will let you hear the story, and then I'll come back and play today's New York Times hard level Sudoku puzzle. Cryptic. It's true that today train commuters engage an invisible force field around them once they start using their mobile phones, but in the past, in England particularly, they had other methods of making sure there was no unwanted verbal communication from fellow passengers. One of these involved folding a broadsheet newspaper in a vertical fashion so that it was just a few columns wide, allowing easy reading of articles down the page, with a special kind of concertina fold around and back to move on to the next interesting story. Michael sat in the carriage compartment made for six that currently contained only himself and a lanky man reading the Times in the aforementioned manner. There was to be no chatting here, he thought. Michael looked out of the window at the green and not unpleasant land passing at speed. Chickety-boom, the rhythm of the locomotive played, and he tried fitting rhymes to it, mostly failing, but occasionally coming up with something interesting or funny. Looking over at his fellow passenger, Michael wondered again whether he might get a few words of conversation to pass the time, but the avid reader looked like an experienced commuter who would never deign to speak to someone who was simply on the way to London to have fun, or find a job, or merely enjoy walking around. Silence it was going to be, except for the conversation with the rhythmic patterns of the wheels over the tracks. Chickety-boom, chickety-boom. The man opposite took out a pen. Michael supposed he was going to attempt the famous Times crossword. Did he look like someone who could finish it without cheating? Yes, he did actually. There was something austere about him that said he wouldn't waste time trying a crossword that he wouldn't be able to complete. It was impossible to see if he was doing the crossword, cryptic or otherwise, as the folded newspaper kept it a secret from prying eyes. What could his job be? Something in the city? He didn't look rich enough to be a stockbroker, but he was reasonably dressed, so Michael appointed him as a middle manager. The train pulled in at a stop. Did station announcers actually pinch their nose when making announcements? Or was it just some innate ability to produce a nasally voice where only some syllables were comprehensible? It seemed to be a special skill. Perhaps they had training for it. Nobody entered Michael's carriage at the station, so again to the next stop it was clear that there would be no social interaction, sadly. The crossword seemed to be presenting consternation to the middle manager, who squinted, peering through half-closed but intently focused eyes. Why am I really going to London? Michael asked himself. I'm just so bloody bored, was the final conclusion. Unemployment as one of Maggie's million was getting him down. He wasn't political, but it was obvious that there were too many without jobs. He had tried to find work in Brighton, but it had proved difficult without the right qualifications. He was still trying. He would try. He would try harder too, but for now he needed a change of air, something to refresh the spirit that was not spirits. He couldn't afford booze anyway. Chickety-boom, the train inquired. "I'm on my way," he replied, in an unconvincing response. The squared patterns of fields were outside now, except for the occasional deep rushing sound when the train passed through one of the stations that it wasn't stopping at. This wasn't the express. It had a few stops, but it also wasn't the slowest train to the capital. Michael wanted to enjoy the journey. After all, the trip was supposed to be fun. It would be more fun if he could chat to someone, but the commuter opposite's stoic gaze never left his paper, and he didn't seem to be making much progress with his crossword. The window view it was, then. There was no restaurant car on this train, so that quickly eliminated the idea of finding someone to chat to over a coffee or a stale donut. The whole journey would only take a couple of hours, and then he would be in the bright lights. Except, of course, it was daytime, so the flashing neons wouldn't even be switched on yet. Piccadilly Circus, Oxford Street. He'd seen them before, but not for years, and not by himself alone. His father had taken him to London the last time, and they'd visited the Science Museum, which had left a great impression on Michael. He wouldn't go there today, though. Just breathe in the wonderful pollution that was London air. And maybe the backside of London was its Londonderry air, he mused, thinking of an old song his grandmother used to sing. Surely we must be halfway by now. Chickety-boom, chickety-boom. He hadn't checked when boarding the train, but now Michael suddenly felt in need of what polite people might call the conveniences. The gents, although he wasn't sure that loos were separated into ladies and gents on a train. He needed to investigate, so sliding the carriage door open, he headed along the corridor to find the smallest room on the train. And it was small, too, and smelly. Fortunately, business didn't take long, and Michael returned to his seat, glancing in some of the other carriages as he passed, but not seeing any other passengers anyway. Would the Times reader look up as he slid open the door? No, that crossword must be really engaging. Chickety-boom, chickety-boom. Michael only just noticed that the other passenger had an umbrella on the overhead rack. He hoped it wouldn't rain. It wasn't the time of year for it, but you never could tell about the weather in England. That's why it was always a topic for conversation, he mistakenly thought. Mr. Crossword smirked a little at his newspaper and moved his pen, seeming to have found an answer to a clue, but not pausing to celebrate, rather resuming his determined focus on the print in front of him. How did people do cryptic crosswords anyway? They didn't seem to make much sense to Michael, who had occasionally looked at them, but could make no sense of what they were asking. Chickety-boom, chickety-boom. It couldn't be much longer to go now. The external scenery had changed from green to grey as they sped through small towns or urban conurbations. Michael felt a sense of excitement and checked his watch. Maybe 20 minutes? As the squeaky brakes grated against his ears, the slowing train pulled into yet another suburban station, and Mr. Crossword stood up. Michael was a little surprised. He hadn't expected the middle manager to disembark until reaching Victoria Station in the heart of London. As the tall man reached above him to pick up his brolly, the Times fell out of his pocket and onto the seat. The man seemed to be in a hurry, almost like he had forgotten that this was his station or something. As he left, he was holding his stomach and wincing, indicating some gut-wrenching pain. He didn't even close the sliding door. Michael did. It seemed neater with the door closed. It was common in the 1980s for people to leave their newspapers on trains after their journey. It was a way of giving a newspaper to someone else, who then wouldn't need to buy one. Michael assumed that probably Mr. Crossword had intentionally left his Times, so took the opportunity to lean across and pick it up. He didn't like the Times. It was pretty boring and not easy to read. He thought he might see how far the middle manager had actually got with his crossword, but on examining it, found no words filled in. Yet he knew that he'd seen him scribbling something with his pen. What was this? Sudoku? Oh, this was that thing he'd heard about. It was quite a new thing to him. It seemed like it might be an ancient Japanese art, but he couldn't remember seeing it when he was a kid, or even just a couple of years ago. The man had filled in several numbers, but the puzzle was still incomplete. He could guess that much because there were empty squares, and obviously, however you played this game, you would need to fill in all the empty squares, like a crossword, but with numbers. Michael tried to figure out what the game was about. There were numbers. It looked like between 1 and 9, as there were no double-digit numbers anywhere. He studied the grid, but not really having seen the game before, he wasn't sure how to fill it in. He looked and kind of got the idea, he thought. So what would happen if I put a 2 here? Now, that seems to be okay. And how about a 4 here? Yes, I think so. He tried a bit more, and then suddenly he had number 7 next to number 7, and thought that it couldn't be correct. Just then, the sliding door opened, and the lanky middle manager stepped back into the carriage. He hadn't got off at the last stop after all. "Is that my Times?" he asked. "Yes, I thought you'd finished with it," Michael replied, in as innocent a voice as possible. The man snatched the paper back and looked at the Sudoku puzzle with random numbers placed all over the grid, and like an angry bull ready for a toreador, snorted through his nose loudly. His features almost changed shape in a way that exuded a transformation from Jekyll to his villainous alter ego Hyde. A vermilion blush spread rapidly across his face. He puffed loudly a few times, which turned into hyperventilation. Michael felt a hard thud on his cheek. "What?" And another on his shoulder. He instinctively raised his arm in self-defense, but the steel umbrella landed another blow, knocking his arm out of the way. Again, the tall attacker hit Michael on the head, this time causing blood to flow from his ear. Again and again came the blows in a frenzied sequence, and the middle manager screamed out words one by one to form a sentence. "Never, never guess at Sudoku," continuing his attack on and on until Michael's limp body seemed to carry no vital signs. The train slowed and pulled into Victoria Station. "Never guess at Sudoku," said the man as he took his umbrella and his newspaper and left the carriage and the train as the station master announced something unintelligible over the tannoy, Mr. Crossword repeating softly to himself, "Never guess at Sudoku." Okay, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Leave a comment in the comment section if you did. If you hated it, don't. Thank you very much. Okay, and so now we know the consequences. We definitely won't be guessing any answers, right? Not that you would anyway, of course, right? But if you've ever heard any of my Monday morning Guardian easy level games, I always say, don't guess. Don't guess. Although not in such a severe way, it's true. Right, let's have a look at this grid then and get on with today's New York Times Sudoku puzzle, shall we? And see what we can see. Oh, I see something. We've got 8 blocking those squares and 8 blocking that square there. So I think there's an 8 in that square that we can begin with. Anything else looking good? Yeah. 5 blocking across here, and up there. Ice cream, anyone? So there is 5 blocking down here and across there, so we've got 5s in those squares as well. We've got 5s up there. Do we know anything much up here? Not yet, I think. Finding it tough to see anything to begin with. I think maybe I'm going to have to click on the digits and see what we can see. We've got 1s blocking these squares here, but 6 blocking. 1, 3, 6, 8. We've got 1 and 6 blocking here. We've got 1 and 8 blocking there. We've got 1s over here. Okay. Oh dear. Not an easy start. Normally I like to get a bit of a foothold somewhere, but I'm not seeing it yet. Where are you? I'm hoping not to go to pencil marks at this point because it's very early and there'll be far too many. I think I have got something, but I'm not exactly sure. Okay, I think the missing numbers here are 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 7. It's 5 numbers missing. 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. 1, 2. We don't have them, do we, in the bottom row? So you can see the 3, 7, and 8 attacking this square, but also we've got 1 blocking across here. So 1 is in one of those squares, so it can't be 1, 3, 7, or 8. It's got to be a 2. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, 2 blocking up there will give me 2 in that square. And oh no, yeah. Wow, tough going. So what are we looking for here? 147, I should say, the snooker number. So can we get anything? Let's see, we've got 1s there now. Does that help us? We've got 1s there. On this side, not much. Okay, we've got 4s in those squares, so we've got 4 up there. Sorry, not there. 4 there. 4s are there. I do hope it's going to give me something after that effort. That was hard work. 7s are in those squares there. Yuck. Okay, so we got 4 and 7 in those squares, but the rest of it not yet. 8's down here. 5's there. 5. 6. Oh well, gotta keep at it. No rest for the wicked here. I've got 2's there now, but that doesn't do a lot else, does it? The trouble is I've got that long story and the video is going to be outrageously long if I don't bump it along here. Okay, for newcomers to the channel, I always try to go a reasonable distance if I can without pencil marks, just to avoid putting in too many pencil candidates, small numbers if you would like to call them that. But sometimes I get stuck on doing that, and that means at that point I'm going to have to put in the pencil marks because I can't see any other way forward. Now there might be something there, but I don't have enough time, I think, to keep looking for it. Hold on a second. So I'm going to put in the pencil marks and let's get on with it. And so let's put the ones here. Ones going that's in those squares there. Twos are up here. Like I say, the trouble is that you tend to put in, if you have a lot of candidates, it can be difficult to see the patterns. But that's my only objection. I'm not trying to play the game without pencil, to complete the game without pencil marks. In particular, I'm just trying to reduce the burden on pencil marks. Let's put it like that. If you're new to the channel, and maybe hopefully we'll get some new people in today, would be nice. So just putting in some markers to assist. Well, I must admit, I was hoping to find something that I'd missed. Quite often when I start putting in the pencil marks, I go, oh yeah, look at that. But it hasn't really happened here. I haven't discovered anything new. There aren't that many pairs. There may, of course, be triples there that I haven't seen. That happens quite often. But anyway, we have what we have. Now, do we have a favourite place to begin? I don't know. I think I'll just go across the middle section here. What's wrong with this column? Not sure really. Okay, let's go across the middle. This block is done. 1, 2, 3 blocks across here like this, so we get 3s possible in those squares. 4 blocks across here, so that those squares could be 4. 7. Do we know anything about 7? Don't think so. 8's done, 9's done. Okay, over here, 1 blocking across there, so we get 1s in those squares. 2, 3. Seven blocking this square. 8 across there. That's done. And then is there anything where I go, oh yeah, and oh no? There isn't. So let's try the bottom section down here maybe, or do we know anything about 1s? We've got 1 blocking down here like that, so those could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocking down and across there, and 9 blocking down and across there also. Not sure. Okay, so let's just keep at it. 3 blocking across like this. Puts 3s into those squares there. 4 blocking across here like this. 4, 5, 6, 7 across there. 9. Oh, we've got 9 already. Okay, so that's done, and there's one more block to do here. Do we know anything about 1 in this block? I think so. 3 across the middle. 4, 5, 6, like this. 7 across the middle again. 8 and 9. Okay. There's a pair of 3 and 7 here, so this can't be 3 or 7, can it? Let's remove that immediately. I did get all the numbers here, didn't I? 1, 2, 3. How come I didn't notice that before? I'm sure I looked at that bottom row, right? I forget to take advantage of the 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, must have forgotten to do that. Okay, so now we've got a pair of 1 and 8 here. So we know that 1 is not true in any of those squares there. And we know that it can't be 8 because, so that's going to be a 6 in fact. So we'll get rid of the 6's in these squares here. And we'll give ourselves a 6 somewhere up there as well. So now we've got 1, 8. So this can't be an 8. This has to be a 4. And so plenty of 4's to get rid of. So somehow or another I missed that there. But anyway, like I said, just the pencil marks help me. I know people manage to play the game without, but I find it quite difficult. 3 and 7 there. Get rid of the 3's and the 7's in those squares. Okay, much healthier now, I think. Not too many to look at. So 1837. That looks okay. Now across here, 1, 4, 5, 6, 9. We also have a unique rectangle here. We've got 1, 8, 1, 8 in these squares, and we've got 1, 8, 9 here. So we know that's going to be a 9 because of our unique rectangle rule. So we know that's a 5, that's a 1, that's a 4, and that's a 9. Oh, we've made good progress without doing very much. This has to be an 8 because we've got 1, 5, 6 there. So we're back over here for our 8 in this square and a 1 in that square. This can't be digit 1. We'll get rid of it. And then we've got 1 blocking up here like this and 1 up there. And then we've got 1 across there. So we know that's a 1. Then we've got, oh, sorry, wrong mode selected. Now we've got 1 across here, or 1 across here, and 1 up there. So we've got a pair of 1's over there, which we'll put in as a marker. We might need it, we might not. We'll see in a minute. Okay, I can see one of these 6's is true, but we don't have any other along there, so it doesn't matter. Okay, we've got 4 to remove from there. Let's do a bit of removals, I think, and let's go back and check for pairs again, because things have changed. The world is looking different now that we have monstrous politicians in control in some places. 2 is like that. 3. So I see this is 3, 8, so we've got an 8 blocking here, so immediately we can say that that's going to be a 3 and that's going to be an 8 there. We'll get rid of some digit 8's as well. Like I said, a bit of tidying up here. And this can't be a 3. But this must be a 3. And so this has to be a 1 and 4 there and 7 there. That's why the digits are helpful as well, because when you knock one out, you don't have to go back and think much about what we've already got. We've got 1 blocking this square, so down here, that's got to be our 1. Back up here for the 5. This is a 5 now, of course, with a 6 in that square. 6 blocking here and 6 blocking here. No, I'm wrong. We could have 6 there. I'll take that back. What's missing up here? 6 and 9, is it? So 9 across there. There's our 9. There's our 6. That definitely can't be a 6 there. And our 9 across here and across there gives us a pair of 9s in those squares. We'll mark it up just in case we need it. I was going to go through, wasn't I? This is the only 4 in this row now, I see. So let's do that. And let's get rid of the candidate 4 there. Now we've got a pair of 1 and 7 in this row, so this can't be a 7. It means it has to be a 4. Remember, all of the candidates are in the lower half in this section. So it can't have 4, we can't have 7, so it's got to be 8. And that means 8s are going to be in those squares up there. I'll just put them in to remind me. We've got 1, 7, 1, 7, 1, 7 like this, so I can remove the 1 and the 7 from that block there, just in case it's helpful later. It might be, it might not be. And we don't have any completed digits yet, believe it or not. So... but again, as I said, I'm going to go through and see what's available. This is the only possible 1 in this block now, so that's our 1, that's our 7. One is finished. 2. Okay, 3 still to be finished. We've got a pair, 3 are blocking across here and across here, so we've got a pair of 3s up there. 4 we can do. We've got 4 blocking up here, across there and across there, so that must be a 4, and now we know that must be the 2, and this must be the 7, like so. So we've got 3 here. We'll get rid of those 3s. We're left with 7, 9, so this can't be a 7. Now we've got 2 and 3, so these 3s are definitely no good. We're left with 6 and 7 there. We've got a 3 up here. This can't be 3. This must be a 3. So 3 down there, 7 in that square, 7 there, and a 6 there. 6 blocking up to the top here gives me 6 in that square, so that's our 6. We can see we need a 9 to complete this row. 5 must go there. We don't need a 6 there. Let's get rid of it. Oops, sorry. Hit the wrong key. The other missing digit here is what? 2. So we've got 2 blocking across there. There is our 2. There's our 8. This must be 8. This has to be 5. Not much more to go now. What are we left with over here? 2 blocking down there. So there is our 2. That's a 3. 3 blocking down. There's a 3. There's a 7 back up. 7 in that square. 9 in that square. There are no guessing involved, no murders involved or anything like that. Thank goodness. And I'll see you a bit later for the third game of the day. I play 3 games in a day if you're new to the channel. Alright, take care. Bye bye.